Hello and welcome everyone to the Optosys webinar. Today we'll be tackling the very nice subject of the Optosys booking and the Optosys recall. Thank you very much for joining us today in such a big number. Once again, we're really flattered by your presence today. My name is Eric. I'm the team leader here for Optosys. I'll be joined by my colleague Fouad. Fouad, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you, Eric.
Excellent. So once again, thank you very much for being there. It's always a pleasure to have all of you on board. Recognize some names here, and I have a lot of pressure because there's a lot of very big super users of this is here today on the webinar. So once again, thank you to attend today. So yes, today we'll be tackling a very nice subject that I like a lot because it gives a lot of value to Optosys and actually puts you as, of course, our client into a next generation of software that Optosys evolves very quickly. So this webinar today will be recorded. So Fouad, how would our participant or maybe their colleagues would be able to review or maybe to see for the first time later that webinar, please?
Yes, so for everybody to know, we will be recording and putting this on our YouTube channel. So you guys can go ahead and see it also on YouTube at a later time. Also, we suggest that you guys subscribe and get notification from our YouTube channel so you can see all the different videos that we have.
Exactly. And by subscribing, thank you for pointing that out, Fouad. You'll be able to receive notification when there's new videos and webinars available for you to see and to share with your colleagues. So thank you very much, Fouad. Once again, during that webinar, our attendees, those participants will be able to ask questions. So how would that work, Fouad?
So for everyone who wants to ask questions, simply just go on the little tab of, it's called questions, and write down your question there. I will try to answer them myself, or I will interrupt Eric every now and then, and he will answer live for everybody to hear your questions and yourself. And also you can write in the chat box, you can write down your questions there as well. And at the end, we will have a live voice, a direct voice conversation with you. If you have questions, you can simply raise your hand and we'll be able to communicate directly with you guys to answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Fuad. And yes, don't hesitate to ask a question, and don't. I don't mind being interrupted anyway, so that's all good. Perfect. So we have some short polls for our participants today. We want to know, in a way, a little bit more about who's participating to our webinars, and those actually can affect the actual webinar, maybe in the level of details I'm going to go with you today. So, can we start the first one, please, Fuad?
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. So are you using the Optosys modules? We want to know if our attendees are actually using the system, or maybe they were waiting for that webinar to have more information to decide if they want to opt in or not. So please answer the poll. So I guess that we have pretty much everybody in. Fuad, can you show us the result, please?
There you go.
Very good. So actually, there's not a lot of people out of you that actually uses the Optosys booking module. So that's going to be perfect. So I'll be able to introduce it to you, answer all your questions, your concerns maybe you have about it. And for the one who already have it, I'll be able to go into details and actually give you some tips and tricks in order to better use it, obviously. Perfect. Thank you very much for your answers. We have a second one for you guys. So what can we launch the second one?
There you go.
Excellent. So in the same idea, are you using the Optosys recall module this time? So now, are you using the automatic communication module from Optosys? Yes, no, or maybe you're not sure. It's some call it the phantom module in Optosys because it's all based on an actual automatic schedule. So we don't have to do much ourselves. So is it really working or it's not? I'll show you how to see the actual history and the traces that the Optosys recall module leaves in Optosys. So I think that once again, we actually have all of you. So most of you, I'm surprised, don't use it. That's excellent. It could be a good opportunity for me to show it to you. And yes, like I'm sure some people out of you might not know if they're using it or not. I'll be able to show you where to see if you have it or not in Optosys and what kind of traces that it leaves in each patient file, obviously. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Fuad. We can close that poll now. Excellent. Thank you very much. So yes, Optosys booking, Optosys automatic communication. The whole point is to have better patient communications. So for me, at least, and for our team here, it's really a very good duo to have together. So if you have the or interested in online booking, the Optosys Recall is a very nice add-on to put onto it. So it uses the power of the online booking to fuel the email collection and the automatic communication. So the whole flow of calling the patient for recall, for booking an appointment and negotiating that time, for appointment confirmation, even for your order is ready, can be managed through those two modules together, leaving to the patient the liberty and freedom to do all those by themselves at any given time of the day. So, and it's good for you also because you don't have to deal with that yourself. The patient can do it on their own. So let's see how it works for the online booking first. So here we want to mention that synchronize your optometry appointments directly with your Optosys solution agenda. Spend less time on the phone, of course, because it's always going to go through email and text messages, and more time with your patient thanks to this quick and easy process. So instead of negotiating the time, sending email back and forth with patients, is that appointment time good or not good? Well, the patient will have all the information at their fingertips from their cell phone, tablet, or computer. And yes, they will love this feature because you customize your agenda. You can customize your agenda based on the type of appointment offered in your practice and when you want to offer them. You could actually have different type of appointments available for different times of the day or different doctors. You can offer access to appointment scheduling via your website and social networks. A lot of people tend to focus on the fact that yes, you can go on our website to book online, but you can also offer that link on your Facebook account, your Instagram, but any other email communication that would send to the patient. That link is just a web link, so you can put it anywhere you want for the patient to click on. We can also add appointments automatically. So yes, as soon as a patient books online, it will actually get directly in your schedule, in your agenda. And of course, it opens up your appointment booking 24/7, the whole year. I mean, there is no downtime. So it's very great for your patient to be able to rely on it. It's also make it easier for a patient because you don't have to negotiate a time, you don't have to spend time, so you can do that in the comfort of your home. It's user friendly, and the appointment are added on your Optosys solution schedule automatically in real time. And what I want to also specify here while talking to real time about the real time is that as soon as a patient reserve a spot, so if a patient goes online, select the type of visit, select their doctor and time that they want, they will have 10 minutes to fill out, their first name, last name, email, and phone number. But during that time, and you might have seen it, even if you're actually doing appointments between multiple computers in the office, that little that little gray reserve slot that Optosys creates while somebody is actually doing something. So just like your colleague who's opening up a slot for an appointment, but is typing the patient name in it, it will actually say reserved if the patient is doing that on the online booking. So it's really like the patient on the other side of the city using Optosys in a way, just like you do in the office between yourselves. So yes, it doesn't stop there, all the features. So the actual online booking site, when the patient clicked on the link, can be also customized. We can put your logo on the top. We can change the font if you wanted to. If you want to actually have the same font that you have on your website, you can even actually change the background color if you wanted to be the same background color that you have on a website. The same text color, the same text size, etc. The point is, if you want us to customize it so it looks a lot like your website, so the patient doesn't have the impression of going somewhere else than where they were when they were on your website, we'll be able to actually get very close to what you have on your website. Of course, you'll still be able to see appointments and our little layout, which is very nice, by the way. But also you'll be able to customize it a little more. However, that customization happen at the support level, so you just have to send us maybe an email or to call us at the support line, and we'll be able to work with that customization level with you, telling you what's possible or not, and we can actually have something that resemble more what you were looking for that. So it's really nice to be able to customize. So you have your own online booking website, and of course those customization continue not on only on the first page, but also the second page. We'll see that very soon, where we have the doctors information, the availability of those doctors, and at the end when they fill out their name and phone numbers and such. Very good. So before we go ahead later on, I'll just go directly in Optosys, if you don't mind, and show you those little quirks that we have in the online booking. So we need to actually set up Optosys the right way in order for that to work. So the first setup that we'll need to do for the online booking is to specify to Optosys the users that we want to show online. And when we say users, it's a very broad term in Optosys as we understand it, because you're all Optosys users. You know that a user can be a pre-test agenda, it can be a glasses delivery agenda. So it's very broad for users, but still you can actually specify who's going to be available and for which company. So you have multiple company or clinics in Optosys, you'll be able to specify which one will be available online for which company. When that user, let's say, is specified to be online, then we'll be able to work in the working hours in order to specify which day, which period of their scheduler that will be online. So here, as we see, we have that little checkbox on the side saying that, yeah, that appointment is online or not. Let me just maximize my screen here so you guys can see it. So we see the online checkboxes. So it means that all those periods in my scheduler are available online. But watch out, this is actually just one part of it. The second step is to select for that specific period what type of appointment that we want or not want to actually show online. So you can control your Monday mornings, let's say, not to have, let's say, child exam because you have a headache or something. It could be senior exam. You can actually work around that to really offer specifically the type of exam that you want for those specific periods. So this is a really simple agenda, but I'm sure that your actual agenda, it might be a bit more complex, where you divide the mornings and the evenings and maybe the afternoon and maybe more if you wanted to actually have more specifications. So here we can actually go very detailed in when we want which appointment. A little tricks for those of you super users that you might not know yet. So instead of double clicking on each of those periods to modify the visit type that we want to make available or not by checking or unchecking them, what you can do is to select them using the shift or control button. So by example, if I'm clicking on the first line in here and I click on the button shift on my keyboard and I click on the last one, all the say periods in between will be also selected. When I use a control button, then I can select multiple items one after the other, and they're going to add each other. The whole point here of doing that is that if I right click on those selections, well, all the highlighted lines, which is those 5 here, but not the Tuesday, not the Wednesday, if I modify the web information, that modification will affect all the selected periods and not the Tuesday and the Wednesday. So that's an easy way to change it very quickly. So if you add a new visit or remove one and you don't want to make it available anymore, it's a very quick way to go in each doctor, select all those periods that we wanted to put online, right click, and voila, they're all done once. Little tips and tricks for you guys. Once we decided on the schedule and which type of appointment that we want to make available when, of course, we need to make sure that we defined our visit types accordingly. So that's super important because that's what we select in the scheduler. So here, we'll recognize those that we actually selected earlier. So we have our different type of appointment that I want to make available online. So here, just make sure to understand that if you have one that's selected, but the visit type, like this one is deactivated, it won't show online. So it needs to be checked and active in order to be seen or selectable in our groups. So how do we make one available or deactivate one? It's just a matter of clicking on that very important modify button and coming here and click or unclick the display online option. So that's pretty easy. However, there's another step that's very important that we often forget, is to manage the Optosys booking types of visit group. It's pretty much the longest title ever, but still it really specifies what it is. So those boxes that I have for the online bookings, let me just go on a website here that I brought up. So you see those complete exam, child, and emergency, sorry, it's in French, we'll be able to define them here. So the goal here is to allow you to bypass whatever name that you have already for that exam type in Optosys. So if you have an exam type called just full EXE or exam or whatever you want to call it, but on the website you want to make it a bit more professional and you want to specify the full ocular eye assessment, well, you'll be able to do it, to actually override the name of the visit type for something maybe more presentable online, along with a nice little description. So if you want to specify what's included, maybe with the exam, if you want to specify maybe the price for non-insured patients and so forth, you'll be able to add a lot of information. There's, I think, a limit of 200 characters that you can put it here. So that description will be the, will be the actual description that I have here on the top if you wanted to. Perfect. So once we have the description and the name, then we'll be able to associate that complete exam to our type of appointment that we have in Optosys. Here, the reason why it's not just a checkbox is that we can, if we want, put multiple complete exam here. So if you have a complete exam 30 minutes for one of the doctors and a full exam 45 minutes for other doctors, you'll be able to put them both under that complete exam group. And then the logic is that depending on how we manage the schedules to go to be checked for one doctor and unchecked for the other one, well, when the patient will book online, that whole 30 and 45 minutes will be completely invisible for the patient. So they'll select the time for their appointment, their selected doctor, their visit, and then depending on which doctor they end up with, it's going to be just say 30 or 45 minutes exam. But it's not something they'll have to select themselves. So it's just easier for the patient and also easier for you, so you don't have multiple appointment types just to go around what the doctors want as appointment length. So this is the idea around the selected exam. So yes, sometimes there's multiple type of Optosys exam or visit types that will be selected for one group definition. So before I go forward, Fouad, do we have any questions in the chat?
Not at the moment, Eric. We don't have any questions for now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Keep me posted if we have any question that we receive. So this is that little group here. So this is very important. It will actually define what we want to show online or not. So even if other appointments are checked online, if they're not defined and selected under that Optosys booking type of visit group, they won't be showed online. So that's why it's so important to be selected. Excellent. Also, a very important note, so every time a patient will book online, it will actually create a brand new patient in the database. Optosys won't take any chance of actually merging a new patient with an existing one just because they have the same last name, first name, and date of birth. So we're going to leave you the burden, we'll just put it this way, to do your own merge. So every time a patient will book online, you should receive a task. Those tasks will be specified, or how can I say, defined under settings, task, and types. So as soon as you have that module, we have a web online booking task that is created automatically. Your job will be able to assign that task when there's such a appointment booking, or by the way, it could be also an appointment modification made by the patient, or an appointment cancellation sheet that will trigger those tasks in Optosys. And then you have to define your group. So you have to go under your task user group, click on that web online booking task, and specify who's going to receive it. So which user will be in the loop of when the patient books, cancel, or modify. The goal is first of all to do that merge of if we have a new appointment with an existing patient, but also just to know if you have a cancellation or modification, we'll be able to take action on it if there's any action to be taken. And yeah, so if you wanted to know how we merge or you're not sure, going under action, patients, and merge patients is the way to go to merge your patient together. So as soon as you have an online booking, you want to make sure you don't have any duplicates in your database. So you're going to go there, and then you'll be able to see by searching for the patient to keep if that patient already exists in your database or no. Now, a little tips and tricks for you actual users. If you have patients that just booked, and those appointments maybe are it's because their last appointment was 2 years or 3 or 4 years even in the past, you might have actually new phone number and new email for that patient. So here, if you want to keep that information of that temporary patient and you want to merge it with their existing patient file that we had from 3 or 4 years ago, if you want to keep the email or the phone or the work phone or the cell phone, please check those little boxes. So then Optosys will understand that we need to retain that new information about that new entry and not just be replaced by the patient to keep and with the old phone number and email. So if there's a new information to be kept on the file where the old information can be deleted or smashed, then we can actually use the little checkboxes to keep that new information into the new merge patient. Excellent. So now that this is all said and done, well, the rest of the old online booking is pretty straightforward because the patient do all the work. So they enter their own information, so everything will be already there. Oh, a little information that I'm giving you, not from here, but from the website. So once a patient select their complete exam, let's say, then Optosys will search for the optometrist that's available. By the way, you can select the order of the optometrist. 3 options. Either you select the order that you want, either you select an actual doctor that you want to have on the top always, and then you can randomize the whole thing also. But a third way, though, it's very practical, is always have the first available doctor on the top. We realize by our statistic that patients are just lazy by default, so they will often go for the first doctor on the top just because it's the first one they see. So by putting the first doctor available on top, you make sure that you pretty much offer to fill up the schedules equally between everyone in the office. But that said, you'll have to think about it between yourselves. Then the patient will be able to enter the information. In here, they can actually still modify everything they wanted to, but as soon as they're here, as you see, we have that 5-minute timer. So I have 5 minutes to fill out my information. And that's when also my patient have 5 minutes reserved spot in the agenda, by the way. When the patient confirmed the appointment using the confirmation button here, they will receive a little email very quickly confirming the appointment that they made, pretty much at the same time as you receive the appointment in Optosys. And that confirmation email will allow them to cancel, modify their appointment. Of course, there's some default values that we can work with in order to specify to Optosys when the patient can modify and cancel the appointment from their email. So here, if the patient clicks on it, they'll be able to just, if they modify to re-select another booking time, and then if cancel, it's going to cancel out of the agenda also at the same time, by the way. So let's see in Optosys where to go in order to put those default values that maybe some people, even out of you guys who are super users, might not even know. So under settings, application, and default values in Optosys, we will be able to actually get to that file. So let me just wait for my default values to open up. So here, and of course, I do want to underline the fact that if you have multiple companies, then you want to have different values, you can do that under each company differently. But if you only have one company, I suggest to do it under the application, so it affects everyone at once. So it's under the online tab here. So it's pretty much not the last, but the next to the last one here. And that's where we see those three little number of days that you'll be able to define that you're going to open your scheduler, well, when the first time. So you don't want to open up for tomorrow. If you put 0, by the way, you could actually open up your schedule for today. So meaning that if you're in the morning, patient can book in the afternoon. So maybe good for a startup. Then we can open the availability for, so by default it's 2 months, 60 days. So that means that everybody will see up to 60 days worth of schedule and be able to book in those, but they won't be able to book further than that. But you can set the number to, 2 years if you want to put to 740, but in a way it's better to keep it not too long because you want to have maybe some time off, some day off eventually. So if you allow your patient to book very far in the future, you won't be able to control those days anymore. So 60 days, I think, is a good average, but you can play around with that notion. Of course, you can always just give them 2 weeks worth. But of course, if you're already booked 2 weeks in advance, it won't make sense anymore. And that's where you'll be able to modify or cancel the appointment before, let's say, 2 days before the appointment. Or you can change it to 4 days if you think that 2 days is too short of notice to cancel the appointment. So you can play around with those default values if you want to. Just make sure you understand that if you put a default value under the company level, it will have priority over the application level. If you have if you want some more information about the default values, I think we do have a webinar or a video about it in our YouTube channel. Excellent. So going back in our, before I do that, Fouad, do we have any questions on the chat yet regarding the online booking, please? No, I don't think so. Perfect. Thank you very much. So next, tips and tricks. So I'm going to repeat a little bit what I just said, but this is very important. On Optosys booking, if you want it to work, if you really want your patient to use it, because of course you pay a flat fee, for it. Educate your patient, talk about it. So after the visit, say, hey, by the way, we have an online booking on our website. Go on our Facebook account. You can actually book online from there. So if you talk about it to your patient, if you educate your patient, they will use it. They will like it. And once the patient will use it once, they're always going to reuse it afterwards. So it's a good investment to put the time into educating your patient. Also, keep your visit types, instructions, recommendation to their simplest form on the e-booking page. So yes, you can put a lot of information in it. However, the patient tend not to read the instructions on the website officially, and sometimes it can even refrain the patient from booking online if it's too complicated and too much instructions, and they say, oh, I'll just call and I'll ask a lot of questions. And so keep it simple for them. It's going to be better for you because it will actually have more success. Use your working hours page to control exactly what appointment you want and when. We saw it together, so you can really control exactly the way you want it to. You might need for that to happen to divide your days into multiple periods instead. But like I said, it doesn't actually take more time to modify because we can select all of them and change all of them at once if needed. The creation, cancellation, or modification of an online appointment by a patient creates a task in Optosys, so make sure you keep the right user in the loop. Everybody creates, every booking, creates a new temporary patient. Using the merge tool will allow you to, first and foremost, know if it is this patient or not, and then to merge it if it is. In the default values, we saw that the online tab allow us to modify our default values in terms of when we can cancel, book, or modify. And you can request a patient to fill an online form at the end of the online booking. So yes, it's another Optosys module that we can actually piggyback on the online booking. So if you think that the first name, last name, date of birth, email, phone number, and gender is not sufficient, we can actually ask a very complete form or very simple one of your own design. Of course, we have templates for that that will go then to the patient file. We call that module the electronic form or the e-form that will allow you to even email those forms to the patient if they didn't book online. But of course, the online booking is nice, so we can attach it to it, so we don't have to send it by email. It's already been processed at the online booking step. Very good. Any questions so far, Fouad, from our attendees?
Not so far, not at the moment. So yeah, we do need to remind them that if they want to ask any questions, they simply need to write in the question tab and I'll be able to answer them or share them with you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Fouad. So yes, after that, we'll be able to go in the Optosys recall module. Time is passing by. A lot to say about it too. So yes, this very nice Optosys recall module will allow you to organize your schedule quickly with a smart recall system. Smart it is. Integrate your automated appointment recall system into your schedule and patient record so you can communicate with your patient by email or text messages. SMS, by the way, stands for short message system. It's just for those text messages that we use on our cell phone. So yes, Optosys will be able to send those directly to the patient automatically. The comprehensive recall module contains a confirmation link and thank you message. The patient can even modify their appointment from that appointment confirmation. So what it does, it saves you time and money, because yes, time is money. Reach more patients on the phone. Sometime, well, we have a voicemail and we have no right phone number and just rings and rings and rings. Well, with that, we're going to be able to reach directly the patient with their preferred method of communication, reduce the number of missed appointments. Of course, nobody likes those no-shows. Improve patient response rates, and expedite them, and increase your practice profitability, because you'll be able to focus, or the staff will be able to focus with the patient in the clinic and not making calls and negotiating with the patient their confirmation or recalls and such. So let's see, after all those very nice words, how it actually works in reality. So there's 4 main points. So there's the appointment recalls, there is the appointment confirmation. So the recalls is, those yearly recalls that we do for those patients that needs to come back. Those appointment confirmations. So once those patients did book an appointment, we want to confirm their appointment. So that's going to be also handled by the recall module. The appointment reminders, just once again, to limit the number of no-shows as much as possible. On top of confirming the appointment, we're going to remind the day before the patient that they have an appointment, and also thanking them for the appointment. Also making sure that we treat the patient that came and arrived to the appointment the right way, so they always come to their appointments. Something that we don't really do by ourselves, but we should in a way. Optosys does it for us. So here, the first one is the appointment confirmation. So that's 1 week or 3 days before the appointment. So when we say 3, it depends if the patient reacted to the first one in the first place. So if the patient did click on that confirm and my appointment button or my link in my SMS and did confirm, of course, we won't need to send another one. But if they did actually, bypass the email or the SMS and they didn't react to it, then we're going to send another one, just for a second try. So here, what you see in green means that it's customizable. So you can put your logo here on the top, and you can put some text. So if you want to specify some instructions, so when we come to the clinic, bring your contact lenses, whatever, you can add to it. I think there's a big, like 2,000 characters we can put in. Of course, once again, I suggest to keep it simple, very precise, concise instructions to your patient if you need to. If you don't need to, this is really the best layouts, wordings to keep it simple yet matter-of-fact fashion, so the patient can act on it as quickly and understand what it is very quickly without having to spend time and, worse, just disregard it because it's too complicated. So this is the appointment confirmation email or SMS. Then we have the appointment reminder. So whatever the appointment is, confirmed or not, the patient will receive an appointment reminder for all their appointments. Sorry, the day before the appointment. Once again, we can modify it a little. Most of the time, we just repeat what we had in the confirmation email. Just so you know, there is no green text in the SMS because the SMS cannot be modified. It's really the same for everyone. But then again, it's just made to be very precise and to matter-of-fact fashion. And that's the day before the appointment. The day after the appointment, well, we send a thank you email just to actually create that, flattery to the patient. So we make sure they're going to come back next time. And we also continue with the pickup notification for glasses and contact lenses. So in Optosys, in the RX, as soon as you put the follow-up, you want to actually put the follow-up to advise, you can send the email along with it instead of calling the patient. Then there's the exam recall, so the yearly or 2-year recall that's going to create itself when we're going to arrive at the patient. As you know, in Optosys, will be sent on the date of the recall specifically and 4 weeks later. So that's very important, and I might repeat that during the webinar today, but this recall is only sent on the date of the recall. And of course, the reason why we send it on the day of the recall and not before is best because of those provincial system, or even for insurance purposes. We want to make sure that the patients, they're booking themselves, because we see that little button here, book appointment. Of course, it goes directly on the online booking. We see now the synergy between the online booking and the exam recall. Yeah, so the patient, we want to make sure the patient doesn't book within the 2 years they're allowed to, or within that 1 year they're allowed to actually have their next appointment. So that's why we send it really on the date of their due and not before that. So we make sure they're eligible for their exam from your provincial system or insurance maybe. Then we do another one a month later. We based on the best practice industry, we assume that if after 4 weeks they either forget about it or they wanted to, but they didn't do it. So we remind them a second time. Please keep in mind that we don't try again later. So if you want yourself to recall those patients, you'll be able to do it through the selections, like you're going to do for all the patients that don't have an email address or don't even want to be recalled automatically. They want somebody to call them maybe. So you're always going to still have to do those recalls. But the goal here is that instead of, let's say, 200 people that you'll have to recall, you might only have 50 or 75 to recall. So that's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. But as you're going to gather more and more emails and cell phone numbers from your active patients, well, Optosys will be able to email them and communicate to them automatically more and more. Excellent. Before I switch to Optosys, Fouad, once again, no questions or?
No, not at the moment.
Very good. Don't hesitate to ask me a question if you have some questions for us. Sometimes your questions will benefit the others that are on the webinar today, or the one that's going to listen to the webinar later on. Perfect. So that said, let's go in Optosys and look at how it actually looks like. So yes, first and foremost, the patient file. So that's going to be a very important part of it to specify where those, if the email actually or SMS will be sent to the patient or not at all. So let's see how it works. So it's actually mainly in that information here. So we see that this patient had a cell phone and an email. So we can specify in here that either the patient preferred email or the patient preferred to receive them by text message. By the way, if you select phone call, then you opt out the patient from the recall system altogether for all the recalls, the appointment confirmation, the thank you, the everything. Because what it means is that the system will actually assume that if they give you their cell phone, that's because they want you to call them on the cell phone and not to text them. And if they have an email, well, that might be just for sending them invoices by email or prescription by email. but not to communicate automatically with them by email. So the phone call is a way to opt them out. However, if you keep the SMS, well, we'll see together that not all the communication goes out by by SMS. So some of them only send out by email. So if we don't have an email address and just a cell phone, they might miss up on a lot of communications. So always the best, if the patient do prefer to receive text messages, please still ask for both the cell phone and the email. However, if they only want to be communicated by email, well, you can still put in the cell phone. It's just that if you put email here at the bottom, Optosys would only use email in any case. Some of you, the most experienced users, might actually also need to know that this automatic communication has nothing to do with the marketing anti-spam law in Canada. So, as a doctor or optometry or optical clinic, just confirming your appointment, recalling your patient, and confirming your patient, it's not categorized as marketing. You're not selling anything, you're just confirming an appointment. So it had nothing to do with the marketing consent management. So the Optosys won't actually take that into effect because it's not marketing stuff at all. So you don't have to have a consent from the patient in order to send them appointment confirmation, reminders, and recalls. So that's a nice thing to know about the Optosys recall. Now, in the patient file, if you want to know what have been sent in terms of recalls and when and how it was sent to them, you can go under the communication tab, and that's where you'll see all the communication history of the patient. So if you have any text message that was sent out, emails, or manual emails like an invoice or a prescription, they're all going to be there. So we'll have the full history of what have been sent from Optosys to the patient, either manually or automatically. So with the mode, the type, the object of the email, and so forth. So that's very nice to know. So if you didn't know if you had the Optosys recall or not, going in any patient that have an appointment in less than, let's say, 6 days, well, they should have received their 7-day appointment confirmation email or SMS, of course, if they're eligible, and you see under the communication tab. Please be patient, by the way. So if the actual SMS or text message, sorry, or the email are sent every day for sure around noon Montreal time, Eastern time. It might be some hours before you actually do receive an Optosys. So sometimes only if, in the evening, depending where you are in the country, you will be able to see that if they received their text message or email. The one that we had the most call about is the order is ready. So when we go to the RX, let me just cancel that for now. So when we go to the RX, as you know, into an RX, we have a follow-up tab. So in the follow-up tab, if you have the Optosys recall module, you'll have that little option for sending an SMS or a actual envelope to send that email instead. So when you click on it, it will send the email and check advised client and put your name and your date in here beside it. So once again, when you click on it, the email will be sent to the patient. However, the record of the communication that it's sent to the patient might take some time to receive. So give it a good couple of hours for that to appear in your communication. Excellent. So that said, going back to our PowerPoint. Before I go forward, any other questions? I just want to make sure I'm not going too fast, Fouad.
No, it seems like there's still no questions. So once again, if you guys have any questions, simply write it down in the question tab and I will be able to answer them or interrupt Eric. And looks like we just have a question just right now. I think they were asking on the modules. Just one second, let me just expand. Yeah, what is the cost of the recall module?
Oh, that's actually a very good question. I was going to tackle that at the end, but we can actually do it right now. So going into Optosys, and I'm going to show you where to go to the prices because that webinar will be recorded. So I want to show you where to go because the price might have changed if you see that webinar a lot later than the actual date. So going into your question mark on the upper right corner of Optosys, you'll be able to go on your What's New page. The What's New page in Optosys is really important because that will be able to show you all the nice bundle to save a lot of money on your Optosys module will be here. So of course, the premium bundle already include the Optosys booking and the recall to unlimited emails, but with up to 250 text message included. But if you want to do a la carte, so if you want to just go with the online booking, well, you can go and sign up for the online booking only or the Optosys recall only, and then you'll have all the details about the fees and how much it costs for specifically this one. So here, just so you know, there is a fee, and depending if you're an OSI member or not, you might have different fees for that, for the online booking and also for the recall. And by the way, if you agree to the terms, that's where you'll go to sign up for those modules. So you'll be able to enter your information, what you want exactly. And once you sign up for that, give us about 48 hours. We'll contact you, we'll set that up with you, and we'll use all the options that you give us, and then we'll be able to show you how it works. And by the way, for the Optosys recall, we might, depending on how it's set up at the moment, need to work with you to modify your recall selection because you might already have a recall for those patients who do have a email in their files. So in that case, we'll have to modify it not to recall the but actually to recall the non-complete exam because that's the only one that's not taken care by Optosys. We only recall for a full exam, but we'll see that very, very soon. Thank you for your question. Excellent. So let's, oh, by the way, we've put under the handouts in your GoToWebinar dashboard there, two handouts. One about the actual examples of the recalls, so the one that we went through together, so you can actually download that if you wanted to see the actual example of what the patient will receive by email and text message, but also another one with the recall schedule and the FAQ. So you'll be able to actually look or re-look at what we're going to talk about right now. So here, yes, what's the actual flow? So it's actually pretty simple. And by the way, the flow cannot be modified. So it's important to understand it because that's what's going to apply on your own Optosys recall. So the first email or SMS we send was 1 week before the appointment, asking the patient to confirm the appointment. And of course, depending on their preferences, it's going to be a 1 week, it's going to be an email or SMS. If they don't react to it, so they don't take an appointment, we send another one 3 days before the appointment, but this one is only in an email form. As you saw, we pay by the number of text message, so we try to limit those as much as possible and only really use those when necessary and do emails for the rest because the email are unlimited. So yes, the second one is by email. And good to know, don't forget to update your patient communication method preferences because depending if they do have an email or not, they might not receive the second one. Appointment reminders, so whatever they actually reacted to the first two emails that we sent out or text message for the first one, we'll send them a reminder in any case. So whatever appointment we have in a scheduler, whatever it's a partial, a photo dilation, the full eye exam, they're going to receive a reminder and confirmation. So the reminder happens 1 day before by email or text message. Then the day after the appointment, it's just an email sent to them to thank them to being there for their eye appointment. The pickup notification for the glasses and contact lenses happen also only by email and sent in real time. And the complete exam recall is sent on the day, and once again, an only email, and it's sent on the day of the actual recall that is due. So you remember Optosys when we arrive the patient for a full exam, it creates the recall automatically. Depending on the visit type, could be 1 year, 2 years, whatever you define in Optosys. So that date, that recall date, is what Optosys will use. So it's very important to be on top of our recall dates in order for that to work. Optosys will also send another recall 4 weeks later. but then it stops. So once again, if you want to do a 6-month old recall, so everyone who had a recall 6 months ago and didn't came, well, that you can still do from your selection in Optosys, maybe like you're doing right now. And for those of you who do pre-booking, we didn't forget you. So we'll be able to actually work with that. So the way it works is that Optosys assume that every appointment that's taken 6 months or more in advance is a pre-booked appointment. So the difference is that those appointments will receive a like a reminder 1 month before the appointment. So they don't receive just that appointment confirmation 7 days and say, oh, I have an appointment that I forgot because I took it 2 years ago and now I don't know what to do with it. At least we take it slowly. We tell them 1 month in advance, hey, don't forget you have an appointment that you took a long time ago. And then on that appointment, they'll be able to modify or cancel their appointments if they want to. And then that cancellation will actually be done directly on the scheduler. So then again, they'll have the ability to do that if they want to. So now that we know the actual flow of the whole thing, let's see if what's the most frequent asked question. So if you guys are super good, super users, some others actually had questions. So for the one of you that don't have the system, maybe you ask some questions to yourself, or maybe those answers will help you on choosing the Optosys recall for your clinic. So what happens with patients who don't have an email address but want to receive text message? So yes, they will receive appointment confirmation and appointment reminders because those are the two only type of communication sent by text, but they won't receive the other ones. So that's a bit unfortunate. So I will strongly recommend, to have the email in every patient file. Can I exclude a patient? So we saw together that we can opt out a patient by putting phone call as a preferred communication method. Which patient will receive the appointment confirmation is actually all the patients that have an appointment that are not opt out with the phone call and where the appointment is not yet, of course, arrived or canceled or anything like that. Now, which patient will receive an appointment reminder message? So once again, everyone have an appointment that's taken and confirmed, they will receive a reminder, whatever it's confirmed or not. So taken is those red appointments that are not confirmed yet. So that's why I said it's taken, confirmed or not. If a patient has multiple appointments in the clinic and even with multiple agendas, so you might have for the same patient an appointment in the pretest schedule for a photo or a visual field, and then half an hour later or 45 minutes later, the actual appointment for the full eye exam, and maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes later, an appointment with the optician to do a frame selection. So in that case, if you have, let's say, 3 of those appointments for the same patient for the same day, the patient will only receive one communication, but with all 3 appointments in it. So they will know exactly when to come in for the first appointment and when they'll be out from their last appointment. So everything will be defined as such. Now, which patient will receive the thank you email message? So it's all patient who actually came for a full exam and of course arrived for the appointment. So if they're no-showed or canceled, they won't receive it, but only the complete exam will actually show it. Oh, and while I'm talking about complete exam, because we're going to repeat that notion later on, let me just go because we do have another 10 minutes, or not even, but still it's very important for me. So here, going into Optosys, I wanted to show you what's a complete exam in the eyes of Optosys. So going under settings, patients, and visits, we'll be able to look at all our visit and appointment types. So what is a complete exam? It's only the visits that are tagged under exam type as complete exam. So if your refraction here is not a complete exam, it should be set as other exam. So those other exam typed for recalls and visit, well, they won't receive the thank you. They won't receive their yearly recall and such, because of course for us, that's important to specify that the recall is only for complete exam, but the thank you is also only for complete exam. Now, which patient will receive that exam recalls to all non-excluded patients who have an email and for whom there is a recall for a complete exam. So that's really what we mean, that it's tagged as a complete exam. You don't have to have the word complete exam in the definition of the visit, but it just need to be tagged as such, that and do not have an appointment in the future. Those are the ones that will be receiving those recall emails. Now, on the other column, which patient will receive a pre-book reminder, that's the 6-month-old appointment that was created a long time ago. Can we modify the timing of the various messages? So I was talking about the 7 days and the 3 days a day. So what if I don't want 7 days, I want 6? Well, this is, we trend to actually just use the best practice in the industry, the best standards possible, so we don't have to complicate things and make it different for everyone, and then we don't know where we're at, and we modify something and we shouldn't. So we leave it with the best practice. It's simpler for everyone, and it's more efficient also for everyone. Can we modify the content of the layout? So in a way, yes, a little bit, because like I showed you, the green text, we can modify a little, adding more text, but the layout itself and how it's presented is the same for everyone. Then again, just to make it simpler for everyone. And once again, it's based on the best practice with the best words selected in the industry to make it simple, efficient for everyone. What happens now if a patient replies to any of the emails that we send from Optosys? Well, that might be important to show. So in here, under settings, application, and companies, under the, it's a bit hidden, but under the CASL compliance tab, we have the reply to email. And that's going to be the email we're going to use for a patient to reply to. So if you put your info at familyeyeCare, whatever.com, that's where it's going to go. So I hope that somebody in the office monitors that inbox in case the patient actually replies to the email instead of actually taking action on the website. For the appointment confirmation, appointment reminders message, how do I choose if a patient will receive an email or SMS? But it's just to simply choose SMS as preferred communication method in the patient's file. What happens if a patient replies to a text message now? Well, actually, it will receive an automatic message telling them that the SMS message are not monitored. The message will direct them to call the clinic at the number indicated, because Optosys cannot receive emails and cannot receive text message either. And no, they won't go to your own cell phone. Can we send text message on demand? No, the Optosys recall does not offer this feature, but let me complete the answer by saying that the Twilio third-party feature of Optosys actually allow you to do the on-demand SMS. So please, I refer you to the YouTube channel if you want to know how to register to that third-party SMS provider, where you'll be able to configure it in Optosys and send emails directly from the patient file for different purposes, appointment confirmation and other stuff. You can even create templates of SMS. It's really, really well made. So please go on our YouTube channel for more information. Can we use this module to manage recalls for exam types other than complete exam, or tag the complete exam, we should say? Well, no, the Optosys recall will only deal for recalls with the complete exam. And can we see what message were sent to the patient from the recall module? Well, yes, it's under the communication tab that you'll be able to see the whole history. So I hope that that answers all your questions that you might even not have, but at least give you at least more information about the Optosys recall module. So is there any question? We're getting towards the end of the webinar. Any comments or concern? If you guys want not to write the question in the question box, just raise your hand in our little GoToWebinar dashboard, and we'll let you speak. And then we'll be able to share your question with everybody else. So there's a little hand beside your name that you can actually select to raise your hand. If there's no raised hand, do we have any raised hand, Fuad?
No, from what I'm looking, we don't see any raised hands and we don't
Okay.
have
Well,
any questions.
thank you very much. If you do have questions, we'll be able of course, to take your question afterwards. You can call us anytime, as you know, if you have anything. And yes, so if you, the big summary takeaway here, so the Optosys booking and recall module are simple, patient-centric services are made for your patient, so give them more, a lot more practicality to your patient, but also to you and your staff. So it's practical for your patient and your staff. Both sides will save a lot of time and find it very practical. So when was the last time that offering more to your patients also meant offering more to you as a clinic? So that's something to think about. So that's why I like those two so much together. So yes, so if you don't have any questions, any last chance for a question, maybe. If
Yeah, from
not,
what I see, there are no questions, and the only thing I could say is this is recorded and it will be on our channel, our YouTube channel, so
yes,
you guys can
absolutely.
always review it again.
Exactly, and even share it with your colleagues or review it anytime. So thanks a lot for your participation. It's always very appreciated to see all in great numbers uh, coming on those webinars all together. I think it's a great way to share information of Optosys and also make sure that you use Optosys the best way possible in all its glory. So by the way, at the end of the session, once we're going to close this, you'll be redirected to a short survey. Just please take the time to answer some of those questions. We always like to have your comment. We always like to have your answers. We want to make those webinars better, more interesting, but also more to the point to what you need. So please specify what you want, and we'll be able to abide by that. This year we'll have webinars pretty much the whole year that already prepared, so we can always add to them if needed. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being there. It was a real pleasure for us to do that. Thank you very much, Juan, for your help. It's been
Thank you,
a
Eric.
delight
Thank you, everyone.
working with you for that. Thank you very much. So if you have anything, any question, don't hesitate to send us an email at support@optosys.ca or to call us at the 1-866-660-6797. So thank you very much once again, and see you in the next webinar. Thank you. Bye.